BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform, your number one source for all of your sports betting action. There's baseball in full swing. You got postseason, NBA, NHL, a lot of things going on. You got the Kentucky Derby coming up this Saturday. Largest selection of odds on everything. MLB, NHL, NBA, UFC. BetOnline remains the number one online source for all of your sports betting info. In between games, go over to the casino, the BetOnline Casino. Top Vegas-style games, including poker, live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. And we welcome you to another edition of Believe in Giants. Bob Popple, along with two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks. And Carl, we got another two-time Super Bowl champion to join us. Selected by the Giants in the 1986 draft in the second round, Pepper Johnson. Pepper, welcome to Believe in Giants. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I am well. What about yourself?
Excited. We're excited about this draft. Being in the building here, flying up from Florida today, and being in the building, and even just interacting with Giants fans, based on what they did in this draft, it feels like there's a new lease on life, like kind of a new energy around the team, and everybody's fired up to see Abdul Carter do what he can do. Plus, the guy they drafted in the third round, Darius. Out of Toledo, looks like he could be a really good player. So we're all fired up because, man, it's been a rough 10 years here.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
So Pep, as Bob said, the fans are super excited, and as fans go, they have these visions of how things should work, right?
Of
and course. Then there are questions about, how they're going to play all of these guys at the same time. And so when I started getting all of that stuff in my social media, and, for the folks out there that don't know, Pepper and I talk during football season all the time about schematics and about players and things of that nature. So I said, you know what, I want to have Pepper come on and just explain the process, because you and I played in a system that had a whole bunch of players.
Yes.
Right? And then you were coaching in a system that was all about scheme flexibility, right?
Yes.
And so what the first thing I wanna talk about for fans to understand that when you have an abundance of talent on the back end and on the front end of your defense, it's important to be fundamentally aggressive. Right?
Correct.
Everybody talks about we're going to get after it. But if you're fundamentally aggressive, that makes everything work.
Correct.
So, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you after this one, because the expectation, as I see it, for this Giant coaching staff defensively, the number one thing I think should happen is what happens every year that I played in the NFL. And I don't know if it was the same when you were coaching, but every year, the first training camp, the first defensive meeting, the coach said in front of the defense, this is the type of defense we're going to be this year.
Correct. And hey, working with Coach Belichick, and continuing to work with Coach Belichick, it was the same thing. He just copied and pasted the head of the defensive playbook, and intimidation was number one. That we wanted to go out there and intimidate. That when people watch us on film, they don't want to make those catches across the middle. They don't want to run the ball inside, and they don't want to try you on the outside or Lawrence on the other side. It was hard to try to focus on a weakness, and we complemented each other. So, and the football IQs was off the chain with the Giants. Now, moving on to coaching, what we did there, we instilled that as part of the reason why Coach Belichick brought me there. Is to be that liaison between the coaches and the players, that locker room guy that could help the players understand what he's trying to do. So we had a game plan, like we did with the Giants. The same thing, just a little different because we could just go out there and beat up on people. But it was different that we attacked the weakest point and we defended different ways our weak side or what their strength was. So that's what helped us. So, and then, with Coach Belichick, it's a different beast because it was chess. He loved the games when he got involved on the sideline, when he was moving the pieces, when he felt like he was coaching against the other coach on the other sideline. When we were beating them up, it didn't really matter. So it made me think about a lot of our games, what we did. But what we did collectively, we got our guys to understand and buy into the process, what we were trying to do, what was the makeup of the defense. And the guys enjoyed it. They enjoyed, I know how I was when we came into the meeting room and Bill had a defense on Wednesday called Buckeye. And I was like, this is awesome. It was, and it was unfortunate because it was the start of the 88 season. It was the start of the 88 season, and Lawrence was suspended. So we had that Buckeye call where I go from inside and shift and go over there to the outside and rush with you. And that tickled the mess out of me, and it was year 3.
So let's just stay there, right? So you said, and this is where we get into scheme flexibility, right? Because when you have talent, you can do that. So the Giants have Kayvon Thibodeaux, who is their Swiss Army knife. Yes. They have Brian Burns is a true edge. You've got Abdul Carter, who is an edge who's lightning, right? Then you've got Bobby Okereke, who is system neutral. He's a middle linebacker of all middle linebackers. You can put him in any system, he can play, right? Yeah. Then you go get, on the back end, one of the top corners in free agency. You add another edge rusher from Dallas. So you've got a lot. And then you got some young players that came in last year on the back end of your defense. So, like, when you talk about scheme flexibility, let's just look at the front. You didn't draft Abdul Carter to sit him on the bench until third down.
Correct.
Yet you got Burns and you got Thibodeaux. And people don't understand when you say you went from inside to outside. Abdul Carter was for 2 years, an off-the-ball linebacker, kind of like what Micah Parsons was. Yeah. So the scheme flexibility from that point could be just about anything, right? Because he can literally line up on the inside and rush, blitz from the inside, and this is on regular downs, right?
You're correct, yeah.
Or he could, I don't know if they have the over or under, but he could end up outside of one of those other guys. So can you talk a little bit about because people want to understand how can these guys play together except for on third down?
Exactly. Well, how that works is the position, just because you're named inside linebacker, like myself, doesn't mean that that's the only position I'm going to play. Even when I talk to people, it's like it was an inside linebacker. I was like, I rushed on the other end. I walked out. It was different games where you walked, and it was games where I walked. You had to be flexible. The more you can do. We always said that too. The more you can do. So that's where I mentioned a little earlier, the football IQ. If those guys understand what everybody is doing out there on the field, those guys that they drafted in on the back end or picked up on free agency and all that stuff like that, they have to understand where Abdul is coming from. You know, like some of the times he might be on your side, and if you can see him and understand the release of the receiver, that's going to help you tremendously because if he's getting to the quarterback, where's the receiver going? You know what I mean? If you're playing off of him, or if you're up and jamming them and you jam them out, then you won't be able to see him. But you're up jamming him, and you know he can beat this tackle. You know, it's an advantage, and that's how you understand. And when you send the pressures and all that stuff like that, sometimes the coaches, you know, it looks good in the playbook to say we're going to back up and we're going to get off. All of a sudden, they just have a tackle over there. During the course of the game, we're beating this guy constantly. You know, either one of these rushers, Thibodeaux, they're beating this guy constantly. So why back up? You know, or why get up on him and let him throw the fade? And you know that knowing that's what they're going to do. Get back off of and allow your pass rusher to get in. And some of the guys communicate that. You know, I mean, that's what we did. A lot of guys communicate that during the course of the game. And some defense coordinators, they communicate that. That's the importance of everybody understanding what the next guy is doing, not just the linebackers understanding what the defensive line is doing and what the back end is doing. You know, no, the defensive line need to understand what is the strong points about the secondary. Those guys can run the edges all they want. If you don't get a push in the middle, what good is it? Now you're trying to bring those guys inside and all that stuff. If you're and now when we're talking about having three guys, now you really can help them, because one of the things that I've noticed with a lot of teams now about the last 4 years getting out of the league is a lot of teams don't run pass rush games. And people are not understanding the pass rush games help the one-on-ones. Because if me and you just, you know, we did this a lot. Me and you talk, me and Eric Howard, we'll talk, but we're not saying anything. You know, it's just like BS. But now the offensive lineman is talking because now they're expecting the game. And then all of a sudden I fake a game and beat him around the edge or take him up and go under. It works for you.
Okay, I'll give you this personnel grouping. It's Burns outside. It's Carter outside. It's Dexter Lawrence inside. It's Thibodeaux inside. Now, the possibility of games can be about 7, right? You can go, the 2 inside guys can run their own game, right?
Yep.
The 2 outside guys can run their games with the 2 inside guys.
Yep.
Right? Or the 2 outside guys can run in tackle twist on their own. So it's so many possibilities that you can
don't forget the 3-man games.
Right, and the 3-man game. So these are the things, like when people ask me how they all going to play, that's how they play. That's how they're going to play. And the other aspect of it, okay, so, well, what about in run situations? Well, if you got linemen that are used to hitting a sled, you got guys who are more athletic, it's upon the coaches, in my opinion, and you coach, and when I talk about fundamentally aggressive, to make sure guys know where their leverage is. Exactly. And when I say know what your leverage is, and people are always constantly saying, well, this guy got hooked by a tight end, and why is this guy always struggling? And I say, because they're not telling him his leverage.
Exactly.
Right? And folks, when I say leverage, meaning if you're responsible for setting the edge, it doesn't mean you have to start off face-to-face or eye-to-eye with the guy in front of you. You can be outside of that guy, because if he has to block you, he has to come out to you, which also helps you do your job, because now you've already set the edge, because he has to come to you.
And then the 2-point stance.
Right. And so when I look at this configuration, and listen, Pep, I know Shane Bowen is a competent defensive coordinator. He's got a really good staff. But I'm telling all of them, if you cannot cook with this grouping, shame on you.
Yeah, I agree.
You cannot be intimidated by all the tools that you have, right?
Yeah.
This is the time, this offseason is where coaches look and say, we just added this. Oh boy, we have to play Washington twice and we got to play the Eagles twice. Washington's got a quarterback that runs all over the place in a rocket arm. Philadelphia's going to run the ball and they're going to be physical. Do we have personnel to stop that? Absolutely. And then you start to create these things. So for me,
Carl, this is the first thing, excuse me. This is the only thing I'm gonna disagree with you. This is the first time I'm gonna disagree with you. This should already have been done.
And I don't know that it hasn't been.
Yeah. This should have already been done. And every time he picked up another player or we drafted another guy, that was just icing on the cake. You know, it was like, okay, this is that's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. Oh, wait a minute, this wasn't plan A, this was plan B, but it still fits the mold. Blah 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 blah. And now we're going off of that. Like, why? And anyone tells me any of those guys couldn't be a 3 technique in any scheme when that quarterback is in a shotgun handing the ball off to the running back, so it's all sub runs. It's impossible for you to make me believe that. And like you were saying, kind of alluded to, it's one thing when you have another 300-pound inside defensive lineman. Then when you go and you take a smaller guy and you put him up in there, now he's more like in our era John Rand that can move around, and you don't know just because he's lining up in the B gap or he's a 3 technique, he might stunt into today, or he might just get off the ball and pick the offensive tackle where the defensive end, it's role reversal. These are problems for offensive linemen, and the only thing you got to do is do it once, and they got to practice it. And if they practice it, then then it's a plus for us. There's no, and I can't really speak on anyone that. Yes, I can. I'm going to go out here and say it. There hasn't been any good defense or awesome defense that played in the freaking NFL that wasn't dictators. You're going to dictate. I'm not letting the offense tell me what I'm going to do, and because of the personnel they put on the field is going to tell us, well, we could put this personnel in the game or that personnel in the game. I'm sorry. No, it doesn't matter to me whether they go in motion or whatever. If you go out here and you have a strong frame of mind, you have good, competent, high IQ defensive players, it doesn't matter what they line up in, who lines up where, you can kick their butt.
So when you talk about, again, the IQ of players, I think the Giants have really smart players. But when I go back to the meeting that they're going to have their first mini camp, and the coach says, this is the type of team, this is the type of defense we're going to be. Yeah. Aside from, the physical intimidation piece of it, he's going to say we're going to be a man defense. He's going to say we're going to be a combo. Because of the personnel that we have, we can do X, Y, and Z. And then from that point, they break up into their groups, and that kind of becomes the mandate for the year. Yeah. Right. So everybody's clear on what their role is and what they have to get good at, so that throughout the year, people will look at them and say they're a hell of a zone team or they're a hell of a man team, and things of that nature, and all the different things you can do off of it. But again, I don't know anything about Shane Bowen other than I can say I've talked defense with him. I know he knows defense. My hope is that he embraces all of this stuff. So, I mean, stuff meaning this talent.
Yeah.
And really get creative with it, because I think they've got so much scheme flexibility that he should not pull back. He should lean into it.
Yeah.
And I think last year, players regressed, right? I think Deonte Banks did. Bobby Okereke, who looked like a shell of himself. Now, he had a back problem, but it just didn't look like he was in a position to excel.
Yeah.
Then there was a stretch, and I called you one night frustrated, saying, how the hell can you allow a team to run for 200 yards for 6 straight weeks or 180 yards? And even if you don't have the personnel, there are things you can do, especially if it's the same 3 runs, right? There are things you can do that can stop that, meaning you can shift guys, you can gap guys, there's so many things, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw that, and then I stepped back, like you said, stunt them. But I stepped back and I said, okay, last year was last year, right? Maybe everybody was learning each other.
Yes.
This is the year where if you want to take a step forward, because Washington was bad along with the Giants, all of a sudden they got good right away.
Yeah.
Right? Their calling card is on offense. It's their quarterback, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Giants' calling card will be their defense. Their identity will be their defense and I have no reason to believe that they won't. Okay, I know you're laughing at me because
no. I wanted to say so bad because it's in the blood.
Ahead.
It's in that. I know it's a different stadium, but it's in the stadium. It's in the history. You
mean that one?
Yeah, exactly. There it is. That's right on time, Papa. It's they can't help it. You know what? If the Giants ever won a Super Bowl or just had a winning season, and someone told me it was because of the offense, I think I might pass out. I'm going to pass out. It has to be the defense. It has to be the defense. It's just, they can't, I know.
It's the DNA.
But,
it's the DNA.
The next 2 Super Bowls, they did it on defense.
Yeah.
Well, I will say the 11 team, though. The 11 team was pretty much Eli Manning throwing it because they were 31st in rushing and they were 30th in stopping the run. So that team might have been the only Giants Super Bowl team where they really needed their offense. I think he set an NFL record with 8 fourth-quarter comebacks, and they won 5 games with trailing with less than 2 minutes to go. So that might be the only team where the offense actually bailed them out.
Yeah, it still was. Remember, I was on the other side of the ball.
It came around later.
Yeah,
in the playoffs, it came around.
Yeah. But still, when you look at the interceptions that he threw, you still can't. It's the defense did its part. It just wasn't as strong, but they still did their part.
Now the 07 team, because Spags was smart enough to take Tuck and move him inside the NASCAR package.
Yeah.
Then they had Fred Robbins, they had Barry Cofield, Tollison would come off the bench, and Strahan and Ossie on the ends. You can never have enough pass rushers, right? I mean,
especially when you know how to be creative with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you have smart players, and this is also something, Pep, that this falls on the players, right? They can get a structure and the coaches can tell them how excited they are, and he can give you all of these possibilities. But then it's the players that got to talk to each other during this period.
Correct.
Right? They've got to all speak a language that each other understand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because in order for it to work, it's got to be a nod, it's got to be a word, it's got to be whatever it is, and it's a language nobody else understands, but when they come off the sideline and the coach said, "What did you do?" You say, "Oh, we X, Y, and Z," right? Because they worked the plan, right? They worked with the tools they had, and that's the IQ part of it, right? So coaches can give you this. Now players, y'all get together and talk about how this should look, how it should go. And then coaches be open to feedback and say, hey, look, we found a counter off of this.
Exactly. Bob, you know what he's telling me right now? With all that was all in Charlie Brown adult language. Wah, wah, wah. When I look at you, Pep, I'm mad. And I know they're not running bankside. They're not going around the edge. When he turned up, you better be there to hit that dude, as opposed to that other guy on the other sideline. He wouldn't even give me a good enough look. He just would. Sometimes he wouldn't look at me, and then I know, oh man, what is he getting ready to
Yeah.
do?
Hey, Pep, you mentioned something early in the show. I want to circle back to it. You said, Belichick would say at the beginning of the year, cut and paste, we're going to be an intimidating defense. Coming across the middle before they change the rules. We're going to beat the hell out of you like you guys did to the Bills in Super Bowl 25. But you both were part of the great Giants defenses. You were both played for Belichick in '94 when Cleveland finally turned the corner and, in fact, beat Parcells and the Patriots in the playoffs that year. Mm-hmm. People forget about that. And then the great run with the Patriots. Can you talk, both of you, to this? Not only were you intimidating defenses, but you were also part of, and Pep, in your case, coached intimidating defenses that intimidated their opponents mentally. How do you achieve the mental intimidation where you almost have the other team psyched out before the game starts based on the football IQ?
Oh, I'm it's funny that you say that while I was, coaching in New England, let me take a 20-second time out just in case if Parcells ever listened to this. He actually, when I was playing with the Jets, he actually screamed at me one time, called himself still picking at me, Banks, just like when my rookie year, or then again, every year I was with the Giants, picking at me. And he screamed out and trying to embarrass me in practice. It was like, when the last time you got a freaking interception? Against you, coach, in the playoffs. Cleveland had an interception against me in the playoffs. But anyway, what we did, what made us, make everything receptive for it, is that we came together. I lost my train of thought. Talk about Parcells right quick.
But it was that again. This is
the mental intimidation,
right? So.
Okay, I'm sorry, Carl. Let me get this.
No, go ahead and finish.
What I wanted to say. I call myself trying to dig up some film on what we did and how we played cover two and all that stuff, and how we were so how we worked with each other. Dude, I got our '86 film. I got it all the way up until '90 and watched every game. And a lot of things that I thought we were doing, we really didn't do it. We really did intimidate so many people. There were so many passes dropped trying to come across the middle or anywhere in the linebacker vicinity. It was dropped. Or if they had to catch it in front of our safeties, a quick little hitch on our corners because Mark Collins would literally swing you around and slam you on the ground. It was no one really could run the ball, and people tried to double up and things like that. It was like, how do you really attack this team when they're playing so vanilla? We would watch the Washington Redskins shift in motion against every team except us, or they would try it in the first quarter, but we still was sitting and just waiting. Hey man, just snap the ball. Corral is playing now. Snap the ball, and so we can hit you in the face. And that was our defense. That's what was our style. We didn't.
So what Pepper has taken for granted, and I love this because we just see it as a group of intimidating guys. But we had our weak links, but we wouldn't allow them to be weak links. So
Exactly.
so for us, and I use this word fundamentally aggressive. If you could play your fundamentals, we got the rest of this.
Yes.
Meaning the intimidation part, we got that. If you just are where you're supposed to be, nobody's going to know any different.
Yeah.
They won't pick you out of anybody else up there because we're all trained tigers. And so if you're where you're supposed to be, you're part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the weak link and you're not where you're supposed to be, then you get exploited. But the beautiful part about being an intimidating defense, nobody wants to not be part of that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right. And all it takes is a couple people. Like it was you and I in Cleveland, and all of a sudden, more and more people started coming on, and it feels good to be intimidated because you didn't know you could do this. Mm-hmm. You didn't know you could break another man's will before the game is over with, and you can dictate wherever, here comes the ball this way. Well, it's coming that way. That is the type of personnel that the Giants have now.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I know on the offensive side, if he was a defensive player, Malik Neighbors would be the leader of that because his mentality, right?
Yep, he will fit.
But you've got to have, and it's not, and it's not fake. It's not phony fake guys. No, you have, when you are good at fundamentals and you're tough-minded, then all of a sudden you start to feel that way. You start to play that way. Yeah. And then that's when you play a team like Philadelphia, and Philadelphia says, damn, these guys are a little different this year.
Yeah.
Right? Or Dallas, who was a front runner, all of a sudden be like, yo, I don't think I want this.
Exactly.
They're playing like the 49ers played us. You know, so that's my wish for this defense. But a lot of things have to happen, and I think it starts with the staff of saying who they are. This is the type of defense we're going to be. And then this is where we have to be this because our opponents are this, and this.
Yeah. Well, you know, like in today's game, how you can inspire the players is far more important than Coach Belichick's strategy. Mm-hmm. Like, we were already motivated for whatever reason. Like, you know, I tell people all the time about before we would play Philadelphia, I bump into you. You already beat me to the equipment room, and then LT come in behind me. We all getting our what we thought was lighter shoes because we know we chasing Randall this week. Yeah. You know, we weren't wearing the boots like that was going to make us any faster, but it mentally was the ticket. Now these guys they need something to kind of help them each and every week. And how do you work that? You know, how do you motivate that? Now, I have worked with Brian Cox. It's funny. I've, you know, played with him. I played alongside of him, and I've coached him. And Cox renamed our one rat defense. I don't know if you remember it or not, but we started calling it one bully because Cox would be that guy that would sit in the middle, and any crosser, he would just knock the mess out of him. And it just ended up just like a bully. So anytime you get into a bunch formation, we had a check or whatever, we were playing one. And then Cox become the bully and double dog dare anybody, you know, coming across the middle. So it's in that coaching room, you know, how to motivate, how to, you know, to get those guys going. We just we need that, and if the psyche, you say if he talks football, he understands football, then peg those players into what you envision. You know, what you envision your defense looking like, whether you want to be an intimidating defense, whether you want to be a tomfoolery defense, you want to fool people, you know, whatever floats your boat, I'm okay with it. Just you got to get them all to buy in, because if you get 70%, it might not be good. We all were aggressive when you and Mark decided to stand up and walk out on Belichick's meeting, talking about Bo Jackson, showing a film on him running the ball against everybody and tipping over tables and stuff. We all walked out. You know, that's you got to have everybody buying into it, and as long as if he can do that.
Well, I think
call. You can't just let that story just sit there.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Because I mean, you're really good at telling the story about how Belichick saying before Super Bowl 25, you know, in order for us to win the game, we got to let him get 100 yards. And I know you guys got pissed about that. Let me hear about the Bo Jackson one here. Tipping the table.
Man.
Listen, okay. Again, when you're talking about
did all that 100-year stuff last year, and this story didn't come out.
Listen.
You want me to tell it, or you want Carl to tell it?
Listen.
I want you to tell it, Pepper.
All right. Well, the stage is set. It's Saturday night. Let me set the stage. It's Saturday night, the night before the game, and we're playing against the Raiders. And this is the same year where this guy ran over Seattle. He ran over
Bosworth.
And all that stuff. Right, and we're playing them, and it might be like a week or so before Thanksgiving. I know it wasn't Thanksgiving, but we was telling them Happy Thanksgiving. We was knocking the best out of them. But anyway, Coach Belichick decides to the night before, the Saturday night, we watch film. We always watch film, just our checks and make calls and all kinds of stuff like that. He'll have a film already propped up for us, and everybody make their calls. You kind of watch things. But this particular game, he builds. He has a 30-minute highlight tape of Bo Jackson playing against all these other AFC teams. Like it was one play against Philadelphia. It may have been like two plays against the Redskins, who, everybody had respectful defenses in our division. And he's showing all these AFC teams that they don't run the ball and they don't know how to defend the run. So, and we watching pretty much every one of his carries against Seattle. So we're Carl, I don't know who initiated. I really don't know, because I thought Carl initiated it, but when I talked to Mark Collins, Mark said he got up first. But I know Carl, it wasn't just getting up. He got up, and we had those desks, those middle school desks, the little chair in the desk in front of you. Carl got up and he tipped this one over. That wasn't enough. It didn't make enough noise, so he kind of batted around a couple of more chairs, and boom, they stormed out the door. Got up, we walked out the door too. I think it was Eric Howard. He walked out the door, and he hit right at it. He gonna slide one of the chairs into the door and slammed it into the door. And then he was laughing because, hey, we getting out of this meeting now. The question mark is, because I asked Belichick, and he gave me that smirk when I ended up coaching with him, because I ended up telling the story again. And I don't know if he made that tape to motivate us, or was he really thinking we was going to watch that whole freaking tape? Now, everybody felt like Carl, but Carl was just the first person to get up and say, "Man, I'm not watching this.
The fuck we doing here?" Right? So Bill, so if it were Parcells showing it, I would say this is the reaction Parcells would have wanted to get.
Yeah.
Belichick sincerely was concerned. He wanted us to see all of this And it was like, did you just think that we gonna be worried about this guy? Like
Yeah,
we knew what he was in 10 plays. We knew what he was when we saw him on TV. But Bill just kept drilling it and drilling it. I'm like, the fuck we doing? Like
yeah,
now
exactly.
you want my guys to be scared. Like, don't show this enough to the 5 or 6 little weak links in the room who that we got like this.
Yeah,
All of a sudden they gotta like, I hope it don't come to me. No. I need everybody. We need everybody.
yeah,
And it probably was Mark who got up first, but we're normally sitting next to each other in the meetings anyway.
yeah.
And he's breathing hard and I'm breathing hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are we
Trust me,
doing?
I was over there breathing hard, but I just didn't. I felt like I was just going to ignore it. You know,
I'm not that. You know me. I'm not that dude.
Exactly.
I can't sit there and just hold it. I'm just like, fuck this. Like, and
I'm so happy when you got up because that's.
And at the end of the day, Bill got the message.
Yeah,
he got the message. And again, if it were Parcells doing it, he would have smiled and said, "Mission accomplished." Belichick was probably like,
yeah, that's what he was. Because I watched
guys.
him.
Don't you guys want to? No, we out. Like, we're not scared of these guys.
It was a wrap when we said that he runs faster to his right. To our right than he does to his left. There was a wrap after that. You didn't have to worry about him, Bo Jackson anymore. And now why? But his long runs, it all, it speaks for itself. There was more, to his left, to our right, than the other side. So after that, it was a wrap.
Right. So again, you go back to this fundamentally aggressive thing. Clearly, Bill Belichick being Bill Belichick, we weren't going to let him run to his right.
Yeah, exactly.
So his runs came left, and I believe it was Mark Collins who hit him that started that whole hip thing when he hurt his hip. So, folks, we say this, and the fundamentals of this game hasn't changed since we played.
Exactly.
Right? If you've got talent and you've got good teachers, meaning the coaches, that talent and those teachers should be able to create something that the league will fear. Because it's not like you're trying to smoke and mirror it with, you got 3 guys, right? And you're going to try to make sure they can be no, you got 6. Yeah. You got 6 or 7 out of 11, another 2 who are willing, right? And so you got 8 to 9 players who are really good.
Yeah.
Right? And you can dictate the terms. It's not a reactive defense. It should be a proactive defense. But everybody got to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And the excitement doesn't come from when the coach say we want to be intimidating. The excitement comes from knowing everybody knows what they're going to do. Yeah. And they feel great about each other doing it.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just refresh you. You didn't wish them happy Thanksgiving. This might have been one of the other than the 2007 NFC Championship game at Lambeau Field, which was, wind chill of -22. This might have been the coldest game I could ever remember. It's 1989, Giant Stadium. It was on Christmas Eve. Meggett had like a 76-yard punt return. Al Davis went ape shit in the press box, screaming at the top of his lungs. And you guys won the game 34-17, and the great Bo Jackson had 10 carries for 35 yards with a long of 9.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Merry Christmas. Yeah. Christmas was the next day. Got an early present for you, an ass whipping.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Hey, I'm telling you. And it should have been worse than that. I didn't even know I thought he had more carries, but yeah, it should have been worse than that. But because Bill we set the stage. That's what, let me put it that way. We set the stage.
And then I guess the last thing I would say to our audience listening, as you imagine the possibilities of what this personnel group can be and should be, um, the one thing that I knew about my teammates, my talented teammates, that one man's fight was everybody's fight.
Oh yeah.
So you were never alone. If there was a fight, and even if the guy snuck you, that guy was gonna get his at some point during the game because it was every man's fight. Even if our offense was struggling,
yeah,
they got one of ours, we got to get one of theirs.
Yeah, exactly. Carl said that a lot. He said that a lot. If they ever hit one of our guys or freaking Burt jumping on Hostetler's leg and stuff in the NFC Championship, hey, eye for eye. Carl said that a lot, and let's go get one of theirs. And Leonard make that big hit there. But yeah, in the offense, we looked at it like our offense was our little brother. That you took up for your little brother. You help and you support him in that aspect, especially where we rarely. That was one thing like we didn't have in Cleveland. Our offense didn't turn the ball over a lot,
right?
With the Giants, which helped us a lot. But when they did, you're talking about guys grabbing your helmet and running out there, and it wasn't oh man, they turned it over. Oh, they can't do. No, it didn't matter. We was coming out there because we got you back, and hitting somebody very hard in their mouth or whatever. It didn't matter what situation, where they were on the field. That was all of our attitude. And there's another thing, and Carl, I missed on this one too, not wanting to interfere. It was we were nine of us that was very, very strong. But we had like 14 or 15 guys, another 4 or 5 guys, I guess I should say, that was coming off the bench, that was in the rotation, that you did mention that they didn't care what they were coming in for, what the situation was, were they, giving somebody a breather or whatever. They were straight cooperative, and it felt like they had more on their back to either make a play or hold their ground or hold their responsibility because of the rest of us.
Yeah, the expectation. Yeah,
the expectation was like because not once again not downsizing because he would have been a starter on a lot of other teams. With John Washington and J-Dub came in the game. You didn't miss a beat. You knew that was somebody that was coming over there that was getting ready to knock the mess out of his man, and you don't have to worry about him, getting knocked back into you or whatever.
Right, but John would be the guy, if you weren't standing next to him, he would probably help his opponent up.
Yeah.
You would have to be like, John, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Yeah.
Come on back here in the huddle. Like you're doing your job. Don't do anything else. Because that's what I was talking about. Like and he wasn't a weak link, but the mentality was that he didn't really want to hurt nobody.
Exactly.
And if he did, he would be like looking out the huddle. Like, I'm like, no, it's good he's down. Yeah. It's good. You heard him. That's good, John. And he just, the next day we laugh about it. But am I lying, Pep?
No, not at all. You plugged that was right. Exactly.
John would knock the mess out of you and feel bad. And I'm like, we don't do that. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's it, man. I wanted to really talk and let you, because you've been part of great defenses, historically great defenses. And you've also coached Super Bowl defenses. And those defenses are very good and starkly different. But the things that all good defenses have in common is that they high IQ.
Yep.
They are in some way, shape, or form fundamentally sound. Yep. And then you can go be who you are. As long as you know where
Yep.
you're supposed to start, you go finish the way you're going to finish because you don't put your defense in. And so just talking about that, and I'm just glad you were able to come on and talk about
Before you wrap, could I give another Carl Banks story?
Yeah, sure. I love him.
Hey, but that's my big brother. That's my big brother. I have to give credit when credit is due. So here's why I'm already in training camp late, right? This is my rookie year, it's 86. I'm already in training camp late. And Parcells is trying to take credit for giving us a day off in training camp, right? But Phil and LT called him out on it. Banks, they all called him out on it, that they got the word from Wellington Mara that he told him to give us a day off. So our little suite was a linebacker suite. All the linebackers was in the one suite. And so everybody Bill gave us the night off. Parcells gave us the night off. So everybody is leaving out. And then Carl goes to leave out, and I'm sitting over there, in my mirror, putting my stuff up. And Carl kind of walked by the door, and he leans back, and he was like, "Where you going?" I don't know, but I'm getting out of here. He was like, do you know all your plays? I said, yeah. I had my chest out. I answered that one. He said, do you know what everybody else is doing? I said, I can't say what I said on this podcast.
Yes, you can.
Oh man, I had started pulling off my shirt. My car with keys, I threw them down or whatever because I knew what he meant. Like he was, and then he gave it to me anyway. Hey, if you're gonna run this defense, if you're gonna be out there, and you need to know what everybody is doing. And I'm like, I had my head down, just taking that, the words, and I was like, yeah, he's right. But he was helping me, and I didn't need to go out. I needed to stay in that room and look over the playbook and understand what everybody was doing, because that has been me since freaking high school. So why stop now just because I didn't got over here to the Giants, where these guys are getting paid to understand what they're doing? No, it's still my
And the information was coming fast as a rookie.
Exactly.
So today's installation, you don't get a chance to go over it. Maybe it might pop up as a call 2 days later.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So the key was to make sure you got your information down the day you got it, so that when it pops up again, you're not looking like, okay, my bad.
What is that again? Yeah. No. Yeah, so my bad. That was my...
But it's, being good or being great, it's about accountability.
Yep.
Right? Those things have not changed. If you were to walk in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room, if you were to walk into the
Chiefs with Spags and
locker
Andy
room, if you were to walk into the 49ers locker room, there is an air of accountability.
Yeah, thickness.
You can tell because it's the way they play. And they play for each other, and they play smart, and they don't make a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see teams that don't make a lot of mistakes, that means they're holding each other accountable. Beyond what the coaches are doing, those players are holding each other accountable. That's why you see so much success in some of the plays they make.
Yep, correct.
And that's why Pete Carroll's going to have success in Oakland. He will turn that around and make that a better program.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing. Hey, Pep, I know we're all getting a little bit older. Do you kind of sometimes feel a little sore, have a little trouble sleeping and stuff?
Why do I feel like that's a bait?
No, I'm just asking you. Well, Carl and I have been on this program. It's called Cherubundi. Now, Carl, you have the gummies. They also come in little bottles.
So let me just tell you about Pep. Before he would eat this, he would drink the cherry juice out of the pouch. He's not going to chew this. He's going to be like, no, just give me the straight juice. I don't care how tart it is.
I like the juice. But
they come in little pouches.
So, Pep, it's in every SEC football locker room. It's in every NFL locker room. 24 out of the last 25 NCAA champions have had it. Super Bowl champions have had it. It's all natural. It's no sugar, reduces soreness, helps anti-inflammatory, helps you recover, helps your immune system. And Carl, you've got the sleep gummies that you're using,
Yeah.
which help you sleep.
If we
So-
had these when we played for soreness, we cover a lot faster.
Exactly. We'd have been talking about 4-time champions.
Yeah. Well, it's all natural. You know, there's no fugazi stuff in it, no added sugars or anything like that. And again, if it's able to be in an NFL locker room, that means it has to pass every NFL test humanly possible just to allow a player to consume it because of the strict rules. So right now, our listeners and fans who are watching, if you go to cherubundy.com and use the promo code Giants20, you get 20% off all orders, or you could just go to Amazon and pick it up there. But it's worth trying. Maybe Banksy will send you a free sample because Banksy's more into the he's more into the gummies
pouches.
than he is the pouches. I'm into the actual 2-ounce juice. But anyway, it's good
maybe
stuff.
I get both. Maybe both of you guys are saying.
Yeah, we'll get you a little. We got a little extra laying around.
I'm sorry. I thought I was being set up for one.
No, but there is one request I have, Pep. I need you to, because there's a fan who I have nominated as fan of the year. He's Momo. He's cranky on the outside, but he's like diehard Giant fan on the inside. So I just want you to say, hey, Momo, congratulations on being the leading candidate for fan of the year.
Momo, congratulations for being the leading fan, Giant fan, bleeding blue of the year.
There we go. Momo, fan of the year, baby.
Momo, buy your mug.
Got my vote.
Buy your mug, Momo. Go to shop.believe.com or Believe Shop, whatever the Believe Shot is. Get your Believe in Giants mug. Pep, we appreciate a couple minutes. Thanks for the stories, but more importantly, thank you both for this PhD on how to play defense NFL style.
Well, listen, man, I'm hopeful, and people think that I'm coming at the defensive coordinator, and I'm not. I'm more encouraging, man. I'm like, and you know, I've been in situations when we were in Cleveland, and our defensive coordinator was a little bit overwhelmed. And just say, look, man, just embrace this. These are all your toys. Let's just go get it. We're with you. And that's not necessarily who Shane Bowen is, but I'm excited for him. You know what I mean? I'm excited. And you know how Bill Parcells used to say to us, my expectations might be higher than you have for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want you to meet my expectations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's all it is, folks. I'm not telling you that Shane Bowen is not a good coordinator. And when I say he's competent, that is a baseline. In order to be coaching in this league, you got to be competent and you can go up from there. So all I'm saying is maybe my expectations are super high. And I know he is a competent defensive coordinator. I'm excited for him. That's all it is, folks. And I'm just, because when I sit and I have these conversations like Pepper and I had for you guys today, that's all the time. That's all the time when you imagine the possibilities and you say, if we could just get this guy to understand X, we're off and running.
Yeah.
And then it becomes endless possibilities. And you've got guys in the room. Marquand Manuel is in the room, along with Brian Cox. They understand this, right? Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach, was Julius Randle's coach. They understand this, right? So when you put all those people in there, I'm just excited. I'm excited for the coach. I want him to really embrace it. Like every position group has a strength now, and multiple. And you got to be able to lean into all of those and make them all come together and be a great defense. That's all.
Yeah. Coaching, what you just said, as an assistant coach, if if I didn't feel, or those times in those places where I was coaching, and I didn't have any input, I felt bad. I felt useless. I felt like it's a bunch of knowledge up here and I can't share it, or I can only share it with my room. Winning championships, matter of fact, I called all you guys when I started coaching over there in New England. It was like, Carl, so many of your techniques is in Bill's playbook right now. Leonard, we in the 3-4, Bill was always mad at Leonard for lining up in the 5 technique, but now we have guys. That was the lineman now. Balls, offhand jams. We just go on and on and on with some of the techniques that you guys did. Now it's in his playbook. Maybe he's out there in Carolina trying to teach the same thing. I don't know.
Well, Pat, we appreciate you jumping on. Always great catching up with you. Carl, how do we like to end this thing? Tell a friend.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Believe in Giants.